What's going on, YouTube? Heylow here, bringing you an all-new 2v1 matchup. It's something Wicked and I decided we wanted to try with Black Phillip here, so gonna be bringing you something a little odd. So let me explain real quick. So I am playing the Empire, Wicked is playing Chaos, and what we decided to do was we do a multiplayer lobby, and we would do small funds for one side. So I have 5,000 of Empire, Wicked has 5,000 of Chaos, but then Black Phillip, we reset it to large funds, and then he would just spend 10,000 out of his 12,400 he has allotted. So it ended up being a really fun game, and it was pretty close. So this is probably something we're going to try again in the future, and maybe we can make a series of it. But let's dive into the comms. So for the Empire, aka myself, I'm going to have Balthazar Gelt. He is on a horse, and he is going to be supported by 2 units of Empire Knights. And then we just brought a staying line of swordsmen straight across the field here. So Wicked with Chaos, he is going to have a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Fire on a horse, some Chaos Warriors with halberds, and then he is going to have a few Marauders as well, and some Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. So it's definitely a little bit of like an intermix. It's interesting because the two players have to try and compensate for the lacks of the other because the funds are so small. So over here to Black Phillip, we have the Tomb Kings, and he has a 10,000 cost army, so he has 2 Carrion up front, a line of Skeleton Warriors with 2 Necrotechs supporting, and then 2 Ushabti, 2 Tomb Scorpions, and Cetra the Imperishable on her War Sphinx. So, interesting builds all around. Let's see how it's going to go. Alright, so right off the bat, Wicked and I are going to start advancing our forces up to meet the Tomb King line, and he's going to be pulling his throwing axes around to the side and trying to get some cheeky shots to shut down some of this carrion right off the bat. I am going to be moving Balthazar and my Empire Knights around to the flank so I can start getting some charges in. They'll do really well against the Skeleton Warriors. Unfortunately, there is a lot of large in the Tomb King army. He's got Tomb Scorpions, the Ushabti, and Cetra, which are going to be very tough for Empire Knights to do good damage to. So right now, we're just kind of moving up to this hill and repositioning for the oncoming charge. Maybe we could get a little bit of a downhill charge, try and give us some extra advantage for the swordsmen in their matchup against the Skeleton Warriors. Meanwhile, the Carrion taking a pretty substantial amount of damage, trying to ward off all of these throwing axes. We can remove them. It'll keep us free from air harassment. The lines are beginning to move up, and Balthazar is just kind of on the flank, goading and prodding, seeing if he can get a little transmutation off on the blob here. And meanwhile, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Fire is hanging out. Then we get a transmutation that goes down right in the middle, pops onto Cetra, hits the Necro attacks, and hits some of the infantry and Ushabti. Some really good damage there. Right off the bat, Burning Head goes down and is absolutely nuking some of the Skeleton Warriors, but does end up routing out one of my swordsmen as well. So Balthazar goes in on one of the Necro attacks, trying to get some good damage. Cetra busts right through the line, but the Chaos Warriors with halberds are ready for it, and they are hot on the heels. Chaos Sorcerer, Lord of Fire, bugging out, trying to put some distance, stay safe, save that health for the end game. Empire Knights coming in off the charge to go after these Necro attacks, and Cetra is moving into the back to support. Tomb Scorpions just pouncing around in the swordsmen, trying to do what damage they can. Carrion pretty much melted, and right off the bat, it's looking like we have absolutely wrecked the Skeleton Warrior front line. Done a really good job. Burning Head took a lot of damage out on him. Swordsman clean in house. The issue is there's a lot of constructs left with very high HP, and we really don't have any good anti-large other than these Chaos Warriors to try and deal with them. And that's really tough because Ushabti are armor piercing. Cetra is anti-infantry on her mount. He's got another Ushabti summon here. Necrotechs are anti-infantry. So we get off another final transmutation, doing some damage right off the bat to the Ushabti summon, and taking tons of health off the Necrotechs. So Balthazar is going to try and pick another one off. Meanwhile, the throwing axes bringing some of that much-needed AP to try and focus down Cetra the Imperishable. Some Chaos Marauders moving into the back, trying to get out of that infantry blob so they aren't getting mulched on. Try and get the anti-large troops in there with the halberds to try and bog it down. Chaos Sorcerer bugging out of there, trying to stay safe and out of the fight. Meanwhile, over on this flank, this Tomb Scorpion is having a field day, tearing through swordsmen. The perfect target for a Tomb Scorpion, just low armor chaff infantry that is getting terror routed. Fireball goes off, trying to hit the, I believe it was one of the Necrotech or Cetra, and misses and almost catches the Necrotech over there, but unfortunately not. So Cetra is hot on the heels of the Chaos Sorcerer, who again, Wicked is just trying to keep out of combat. Unfortunately, we have the infantry advantage, but we just don't have mass. We don't really have anything to bog down these constructs. Empire Knights are not anti-large. They are very flimsy, like cycle charging anti-infantry cav, and the mass is not that great, especially against like a Tomb Scorpion that can go underground and the animations whip it all over the place. And then Cetra is just absolutely massive, so the cav just can't really trap her. But we have taken out the Necrotechs at this point. The Ushabti are pretty much all taken care of, and the infantry is just constantly coming back, desperately trying to get into this fight and bog down all of these constructs. We've done a substantial amount of damage to Cetra, but just continuing to run amok and tear through us right now. We do manage to get another final transmutation off, though, doing some good damage to the Tomb Scorpion and to Cetra, as well as wrecking the rest of this Ushabti. But yeah, I don't know. It's looking tough so far. The Chaos Sorcerer is hanging out, drops a Fireball, and barely grazes Cetra, but he is getting gooned down right now by the Tomb Scorpions and taking a very substantial amount of damage. Incantation of Curse Blades going off to give it the extra AP, and yeah, the Chaos Sorcerer decides, nope, getting out of that, dip, potato chip, and he goes off running. But again, Cetra is just impossible for us to tie down right now. The cav is not stopping her. The halberds are just not able to tie down the construct, and we're just running. Balthazar is on fairly low health. The Chaos Sorcerer is on mild health as well. And the horsemen are just sitting over here trying to get some shots in, trying to bog down these scorpions and whatnot when they can. But it's not ideal at the moment. Balance of power slightly in our favor, but balance of power can be deceiving. Right now, this is pretty much even. It could go either way. It depends on the play with the constructs, and we are just chasing and chasing, trying to get charges in and do some damage. But Cetra is highly mobile, and big issue, again, no mass, and all of these constructs cause terror. So when it comes down to the late game, you can see here the Marauders are dipping out of there. They're not having any of it, and with all these swordsmen, they're not going to hold in combat. They're just going to flee. So it's really down to these Chosen, who aren't really able to do much here because they can't catch up. So one of the horsemen are out of axes. The other one is trying to stay close and get some good shots in. But Balthazar is just spamming that Arcane Conduit and Staff so we can try and get some good final transmutations to do some magic damage. But other than that, Incantation of Protection going down on Cetra for 44% physical resistance. It is beefy. That is going to make it very tough to deal with Cetra. And it's doing tons and tons of damage negation there. But we do manage to get a juicy surround, and that could be good for us, but Cetra pops that AoE and does significant damage. Chaos Sorcerer is hanging out on the flanks, as well as Balthazar, just trying to support the engagement with some leadership buffs and keep the infantry in the fight. Halberd's doing a lot of damage here. But Incantation of Cursed Blades going down on Cetra, so she's going to be doing a lot of extra AP damage. And again, these animations just bumping all the way through. Terror causing a lot of units to rout, and we have to pull them back in. The Marauder Horseman with the throwing axe is trying to rush in and bog down Cetra. But Cetra has a decent chunk of health left with 1700 and a little bit of healing. Physical resist going up again, making it so that we can't really do the damage we need to, and a lot of our troops are beginning to flee from these Tomb Scorpions that are just absolutely dumpstering our leadership. So Balthazar gets in there to try and do a little bit more damage with the Empire Knights trying to tie her down. Chaos Sorcerer Lord comes in, gets a pretty nice hit in. The Marauder Horsemen come in to get a charge, and leadership is crumbling out almost. So little bits here and there. But yeah, some of the Chosen come back. We're trying to get back into this fight. Balance of power teetering in our favor. But Cetra is down to 900 health and doing a significant amount of damage to this Chaos Sorcerer Lord, down to 199 and fleeing off the battlefield. That right there puts the balance of power right back down to the middle. And the Chosen start routing out. The leadership hit from losing that Sorcerer Lord is huge for us. So some of my Empire Knights trying to come back in. Balthazar trying to finish off that last 600 health, doing bits and bits of damage, but unfortunately the Tomb Scorpions come in and just wail on him, and the terror is real. The cavalry and Balthazar rout out, and the balance of power slightly in the favor of the Tomb Kings now. Cetra is down to 200 health, 100 health, and Cetra is crumbled out. So Cetra goes down, and it is down to the two Tomb Scorpions. So some of my cavalry come back, Balthazar's coming back, and this is super close. We have to try and kill off these Tomb Scorpions. The Halberd Chosen are sitting there just trying and trying and trying to beat it down. The cavalry comes in to stop the escape. Chosen getting in there, trying to get their hits in. But yeah, again, cavalry having a tough time getting terror routed out. My other unit comes back and we throw them straight back into the fray, trying to crumble out this Tomb Scorpion while the leadership is low. But they are continuing to fight on. That is one really tough thing, especially with constructs in the late game, is if you don't have enough mass to stop them and you can't wreck that leadership, they sit there and they fight forever. And even when they start to go negative in their leadership, they just crumble. So they'll lose HP, but they can stabilize. They won't rout off the battlefield, which is the problem that we are having right now. A lot of our stuff just routing, and these Chosen, again, they take that leadership penalty and they are dipping out. So the terror is real, and with that, balance of power greatly shifts into their favor. Balthazar is wavering with only 300 health left, and he is trying to flee, but the terror route hits, and that is GG. So really, really fun game. 2v1 worked out super well. It was a blast. Definitely interesting little format we had going there. Kills wise, Balthazar did a substantial amount of damage, didn't do a lot of killing. He was going after the necro attacks, trying to get those transmutations. Swordsmen did what swordsmen do. They held up the line, chewed through some skeleton warriors, and then they were basically just bodies. Over on the Chaos side, 125 kills on the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, doing really, really good work with that flaming burning head in the beginning, quickly taking out all those skeleton warriors and supporting the line engagement, doing some good fireball damage as well. Marauders picked up some good kills. Chaos Warriors with halberds and the Chosen were chasing around constructs the whole time. They did a good amount of damage. Unfortunately, they don't have the mass to tie things into combat. It's rough. If you don't have something big like another construct or like a monster to just stick it to, the like Tomb Scorpion, for example, they're just picking at its heels, chasing it all over the place. Marauder Horsemen and the Throwing Axes did some good damage, taking out the Carrion, doing some good HP damage to Cetra, and just kind of plinking away in the long game. But in the end, Black Phillip comes away with the W with two models remaining, the Tomb Scorpions, 133 and 80 kills. These guys were super clutch. We managed to snipe out the Necrotechs pretty early on because they were a big issue with all that healing power. Cetra took some pretty substantial damage and was being chased around for most of the game. Skeleton Warriors got wrecked by the Burning Head. The Carrion got kind of kited around by the Skirmish Cav. And then the Ushabti picked up some really good kills, but it was mostly against like swordsmen. And we managed to just like spend the chaff and some other like AoEs from the final transmutation to take them out of the game. But yeah, all in all, it was a blast, super fun, and we're probably going to bring more of these into multiplayer and just kind of have some fun with it, see what kind of meme nonsense we can get up to. Anyways, guys, that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all subscribe and like and hit that juicy little bell notification. And yeah, I'll see you next time.